Thank you, Anne. I have a young friend in Kabul. Her name is Farzanna. And she was very confused by the mantra of Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, who said that in Afghanistan, the United States would fight, talk, build. And Farzanna said, why not make friends, talk, build? It doesn't seem like a very criminal thing to do, does it? And so on trial tomorrow, Brian and Ron will be tried as criminals because of an essentially friendly act, extending the hand of friendship, bringing to the Whiteman Air Force Base the grievance, the terrible grievance that we all bear, trying to exercise our duties as people under international law and as people who embrace human decency. This isn't something that's new. Some people would speak about a record that the judge will look at when thinking about what Brian is saying and doing, but I think that the record of what Brian has said and done has been summed up in his dedication to the children. It was at the end of our trial in front of another judge for having trespassed at the Creech Air Force Base that Brian gave the summary. He appealed to that classical story of the house on fire and the child is inside the house, and is there a chance to get inside the house and save the child? And Brian assured the judge that the house is on fire, that the children are very much at risk and in danger, and that we will not be barred from entering in to save the children because of the words printed on the no trespass sign. And so we thank you. We thank Mark in jail now. We thank Ron and his family. We thank Brian and his family, all of the extended community, for the encouragement, for the exemplary witness to enter into the house and to say everybody in, nobody out, in that house dedicated to peace. Thank you, Brian and Ron.
Thank you all. What an honor to be here with you all. It's been mentioned by several of our speakers that what happened at Whiteman Air Force Base on April 15th was not an act of trespass. The First Amendment says that our right to peaceably assemble to address grievances with our government may not be abridged. We were there with very, very real grievances. We were there respectfully, we were there peacefully. But that's not to say the trespassing wasn't going on April 15th at Whiteman Air Force Base. Trespassing is going on at Whiteman Air Force Base 24/7. And the trespassing is, we know that they are trespassing every day in Afghanistan and in Pakistan. We don't know where else they are. And it is that trespassing that we were trying to address, and not only trespass, but more serious crimes of premeditated murder. So I recently heard one of the ways that Gandhi defined violence is a destruction of distance and time. And nothing more describes what's going on at Whiteman Air Force Base than Gandhi's depiction of violence as the destruction of time and distance. A drone operator was interviewed in America Magazine, and he said, described his work, and he said, when I'm flying the drone, I am 7,000 miles away from the war. The different distance between Creech Air Force Base and Afghanistan. And I am at the same time 16 inches away from the war. The distance between his face and the computer screen. So what's happening now with this technology is war crimes are being committed, and they're being committed by people who live a few miles away from us. Office buildings just outside of Syracuse, New York, in the desert of New Mexico and Nevada, by people who go home and see their families in the evening. People who are just working a shift, sitting at a computer like so many Americans do. Kathy referred to our trial in Nevada. And if you want to see, there's copies of a play made out of the transcript available at the back table, at which our Ramsey Clark and Ann Wright and Bill Quigley were all able, within limits, to testify. And you might want to read that. And the judge, after hearing these three people testify, was very deeply moved and clearly disturbed by what he had heard, and said, "You have to come back in 3 months because I can't decide whether you're guilty or innocent." So we came back, and the judge told us we were guilty. And mainly he used decisions that were made against trespassers at the School of the Americas in Georgia, represented by Bill Quigley, where the conviction of those people was upheld because the crime was not imminent. People were marching in Georgia, but the crime they were addressing was taking place in Colombia, in El Salvador, in Guatemala, in places far away. And to use the analogy that Kathy mentioned too, if you're going to be, if you're going to use imminence and a necessity defense to break a trespass law, the crime has to be imminent. In other words, you can do it at the house that's on fire, but you can't do it someplace else. You have to be right there where it's committed. And the wisdom of that set aside, what the judge was not recognizing is that although the house on fire is in Afghanistan, our protest, he said, in Nevada was illegal, was a crime, it was too far away. But the fuse was lit in Nevada. The fuse is being lit, war crimes are being committed a few miles away from here. And this idea of imminence I was very curious because I'm reading more and more about the drones, and imminent threat is what these young men and women who are sitting at computer consoles here at Whiteman Air Force Base, that's their job, to look at the computer screens and decide if a threat is imminent. And they can make that decision with lethal consequences from right here in the Midlands. So I guess to close, to say I'm grateful this evening for a beautiful challenge from Saddam Hussein through Ramsey Clark. To learn to love from a distance. Our technology, our science, our learning has been to hate and to kill from a distance. What I hope we'll be doing speaking to in the courtroom tomorrow, and as we go back to Whiteman Air Force Base in the future, is our commitment to loving at a distance. Thank you.